enlightened to experience enlightenment. Enlightenment only manifests and is only a byproduct of the interfacing of human consciousnesses. That's where even the word enlightenment comes up. It's born directly with how you interface with other conscious beings and the consciousnesses of other human beings. Ain't that heavy? They have made enlightenment individualistic, as though you're going to spiritually grow and shoot on up out of the planet somehow. So the truly enlightened, their true enlightenment spreads into a community. And you can tell that those individuals are enlightened by the communities that they live in. Not by how nice their prayer rugs are, or how expensive their chanting beads are, or by the size of their DVD collection, or how many videos they watched on YouTube, but by the consciousness of the community that they live in. Some people call themselves consciousness and are even unable to interface with other conscious beings because of ego. How the hell are you conscious? Your consciousness of black nation building and black supremacy and all that, you can't even interface with other conscious beings? You are not conscious at all. You're conscious of your remote control and your television. Am I correct? You're conscious of where every book is placed on your bookshelf. But when it comes to other human beings, you are unconscious. You're unconscious of how to deal with them, how to talk to them, how to get them to a conscious level, how to experience consciousness with them. You're unconscious of that. But that's all consciousness is. Any enlightened being that ever came to us, we only knew there was enlightened or consciousness. How? By how they interfaced with us. Because if they hadn't interfaced with us, we would not even know what enlightened or consciousness was. Thus, it would not even exist. So it's relative to how beings interface. So now there's enlightened ways of doing things. It's not an introverted prison. Enlightenment is not an introverted prison. Y'all follow what I'm saying? It's the reality of how we harmoniously interface among one another. That's enlightenment. You cannot be enlightened by yourself. By yourself, there's no need for enlightenment. Because by yourself, there is no self. Self is relative to interacting with others. Do y'all follow what I'm saying? Because that's when you experience different dimensions of your personality relative to who you are in association with. Right. And that's when you come to terms and come at one with those different fragments of your personality that you experience in your relationship with others. And that's your moment for enlightenment. Do y'all follow what I'm saying? Anybody can pretend to be enlightened sitting by themselves locked in a room. I'm very enlightened. But when you send them out amongst other people, they get mad, angry, fearful, all these different things. And they are not enlightened. But the moment that they become one with those fragmented aspects of self that manifest in a relationship to others, the moment that they find peace and oneness with those aspects of their own existence, at that point they immediately become enlightened in them situations. And they manifest the embodiment of enlightenment. So none of us are enlightened if we're not interfacing within an enlightened reality. We're not enlightened. That's a fact. Enlightenment is manifested through the social dynamic of our relationship to others. We're all gods and goddesses. That's the self of us. But we are not enlightened beings until that's shown. Am I correct? And how we interface with other beings. That's a fact. We cannot get enlightened by being deep on our own and by ourselves. There's no need for it. Why the hell would you need enlightenment for if you by yourself? What do you need it for? I need it on the 4th dimension of the 7th galaxy. This is why I need, this is my insurance policy for my apartment in the bureau. You understand what I'm saying? So true enlightenment is multidimensional. It's the highest way that you go about doing things in your actions. It is devotional service. Because all the knowledge should bring you to action. It should bring you to a discipline, to a behavior. Then you don't need the knowledge anymore. Because you are a living expression of where the knowledge was supposed to lead you to. We was not supposed to be walking USB memory sticks. We were not meant to be library catalog, card catalogs. That knowledge was supposed to lead you into being something. And it's as good as you becoming that. That's a fact. If you have not become that, and you want more knowledge, and your knowledge is not about the path of becoming, then your knowledge is vanity. That's like eating food with no nutrition. You don't gain any weight. You don't get anything out of the food. So why the hell are you eating it? People reading and studying and reading and studying, but they're not getting no nutrition from it because they still hate black people when they interface. They read all this knowledge. As soon as they get up in front of a black person, fuck you, nigga. I'm going back home and study. Do you hear what I'm saying?
It's crazy.
Because they have not become anything. They still have anger and animosity and negative emotion when they relate to their people. So what have they gained? What was all the knowledge for? To get money. To get over on people. To manipulate. Not to come into a new, profound, harmonious understanding of being able to relate to things in the highest way. That wasn't what the knowledge was for. It's so that when I meet a Mason or whatever, I know how to shake up with them and say a few cold words. Yeah, I'm a traveler too. This is why. So I could talk to people at an informative level of consciousness. I got that information. I know that. But we only remember periods of human enlightenment by how the people were in those times. You follow what I'm saying? Not we don't remember them by the information that was out. We know the enlightenment of the computer period, right? Because there was a whole bunch of computers. And technological advancement, which was a physical thing. So we call that the age of computer enlightenment. What is the age of this enlightenment going to bring? What's the manifestation of it? People who have regurgitated information that have already existed? Or when we see dramatic social change in the way people are being, that's an enlightened period. A dramatic social change in the way people are being. People are being and doing something different. So my whole point is, enlightenment is a relationship to other beings based upon the highest level of realization. You don't need enlightenment by your damn self. If you did and it was only for and by yourself, then tell all the gurus to pack their shit up and go back to India and sit in the motherfucking mountains. Because what are you telling me for? You're enlightened, right? Why do I need to hear this? Because even your remembrance of enlightenment is relative and is a byproduct of how you interface with me. Enlightenment would not even exist if there was no me. So the true guru needs the devotee. And dude had reminded me of that. The Guru Moraji, back in the piece he did in 1970, when he said that you are my all. I was like, damn, that's deep. He literally told the devotees that they was his all. And if he's an enlightened being, how is the devotees his all? Because his enlightenment is relative. Because even his existence as an enlightened being is relative to interfacing in the paradigm of other enlightened beings. So we got a whole bunch of deep people. But we don't have no enlightened people. We got informed people. But they're not enlightened. We got librarians. But we have no enlightened beings today. The path of true enlightenment is not a path of individualism and selfishness. Because that's the same, even though it's not capitalism, it's really the same thing. Personal gain. The capitalist wants money so he can buy more books and more DVDs. So he can become smarter than the next man. It's like just a forever going selfishness journey. Am I correct?
It's true.
His whole goal is to be better than somebody else. He'll never be enlightened. Because he can only be enlightened with others. Meaning that we grow together. The plant helps the soil. You know what I'm saying? The soil, the health of the soil is relative to the plants on it too. You see what I'm saying? If you find soil that nothing has been planted on it for a long time, that's your worst soil. Because even what grows from it fertilizes the very soil that it is. Without that, it's considered dead soil. Nothing's growing on it, nothing's going back. That's a fact. So that means that this individual who, through capitalism and selfishness and greed, get all this knowledge, to whom do we share it with? There's nobody else enlightened. Enlightened doesn't exist. So he didn't study for 90 years. He got 1 year left on the earth. He studied for 99 years. He got 1 more year left on the earth. He got to teach somebody for that whole year to try to get to a point before the 99th day to even have one decent conversation with them. So he got to give them a crash course in what he's been studying for 99 years just to have a qualified conversation. So all these people in the so-called conscious community, all of them have heard of all of the same things, but the person down the street have not heard one thing. We walk down the street and ask them, have you heard of Amos Wilson? Hell no. Is that old guy that lived on the other block? So the information's being recycled and regurgitated in a small community of people that takes glory in being smarter than everybody else as a group. And the only reason to become a conscious community is to prove that we are smarter than everybody else as a group. Don't you agree that all of us are smarter than everybody else? That's the point of a conscious community. But nation building is a compassionate community. Compassion. And out of compassion, you're willing to do the simplest and smallest things to create peace and harmony for the greatest number of people. That's a humanitarian paradigm. That means our security that we produce on the blocks is not for us. We have nothing to worry about. We can sit in here and be deep. You understand what I'm saying?